first meeting probably after our event last year, we decided that we should look for some, or have somebody rather, from our own area this year. And actually, our speaker that are here today came up, we contacted him, and he's here. And I went to school here, born and raised here he was, and oh, I could talk about it for another 10 minutes. I think I let him do that. So at this time, I would like to introduce our speaker for this event. This afternoon, Reverend Blake, United States Air Force Chief Master Sergeant retired. Would you believe that?
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Oh, look at you. You're going to talk back. This is going to work. I'm going to love this program. It is an honor to be here tonight. First of all, I thank you for having me here this evening. It's always a pleasure when I get to come back home, because this is where I grew up. This is my home. For everything that you see on that bio, I grew up right here in this city. So when I get an opportunity to come back and share a little bit of life, wisdom, for the mistakes I made, and what 4 decades of serving in the United States government has done for me. So, what we're going to talk about today is, I've done a lot of speeches over my career. It's one of the things that I've gotten used to, and people say when you come talk and you come do this. So what I'm going to start today is I'm going to start with simply talking to you about how I form a speech, and then try to present that to you here today. So, I've learned a couple of rules about a speech. First, you need to be yourself. Be genuine and be exactly who you are. Don't get up here and try to pretend to be something else. Just be who you are. Second thing you need to do is you need to always recognize your distinguished guests in the audience. They brought you here, they fed you, they treated you right, so give them the respect that you recognize them. The third thing, you should always have some kind of icebreaker. Something that's funny, something that's a grabber, something that gets their attention so that they know we're going to have fun. You don't need to be stuck up in the room, and it's going to work out. The fourth thing, you always stick to the 3 ups of public speaking. Get up, speak up, and shut up. Because these people are going to want you to sit down sooner or later. And one of the things that I've learned when you get to that point is at minute 1, you're going to love it. Then you're going to get to minute 5, and that's when you'll probably start to like me. Then we'll get to minute 10, and then that's when you start to appreciate me. Minute 15, that's when you'll start to respect me and the things that have happened. But when we get to minute 20, that's when you start regretting you ever met this person in your life. So I promise you, as we get through this tonight, we will not get to the point where you start to regret it. So we will get you out of here in less than 20 minutes. Okay? Another really important thing is you need to have 3 to 4 points. 3 to 4 points that people can remember that stays with them. And then, if you can tie a personal story to it, it'll make your 3 to 4 points stand out even more. And finally, if the steps go correctly, and you give your heart to it, hopefully by the time you finish, they'll wish you went past 20 minutes. But I promise you I won't go past 20 minutes. Okay, goal number 1, be yourself. I promise to be that same little boy that grew up in this city, that graduated from Rockford West High, that went on to do some things that some people think are important. But my mom still, if she was here, to say that's my little boy from Rockford. Okay? Point number 2, distinguished guests. I appreciate you. I thank you for having me here. I thank you to the officers who set this up. I thank you to all the past commanders and presidents that are in the audience. I thank you to Miss Priscilla, who I met today, who is now my new distinguished guest, so I appreciate you. Okay. As for my humor, I was going to get into this thing going back and forth, so I reached out to, this is a true story. I reached out to my retired Marine buddy. And I said, hey dude, I'm speaking in Rockford and I need a Marine joke. And he says, why do you need a Marine joke? I said, it's going to be a Montford Point Marine banquet. And he said, you're telling me that they have an Air Force guy that's going to speak at a Marine banquet? I said, yeah. He said, no. You're telling me they're going to have an Air Force guy that's going to speak at a Marine banquet? I said, yeah. He said, that's your joke right there. So, because he set the bar with that, I got to have a Marine joke just because he did that to me. So, two young Texas Marines, they are in Florida, and they decide that they want to go to the game warden's office because they decide that they want to go alligator hunting. So they said, we need to get a license so we can go alligator hunting. So the game warden looked at them, he filled out their forms, and asked them, have you ever really been out hunting for gators? The Marines responded, no, but we're the United States Marines. And basically, that's just a large gecko. We'll be okay. We will get it. So the warden shook his head in amazement and said, okay, I'm gonna let you guys go out there. And he let them press on. So about 30 or 40 minutes later, the warden starts to think about the young men and he starts to get worried. They weren't really armed. They didn't have the right gear. He doesn't even know if they really had a boat. So he decided, this is not going to be on my watch. I'm going to have two Marines who are going to get eaten by alligators while I'm working. So he decides that he's going to get his boat and he's going to go out to the swamp and he's going to check on these young men. So as he's riding down the swamp, he comes across a dead gator, flipped upside down, floating. He moves around a little bit, goes down the bend, and notices two more dead gators, upside down, floating. Goes around the next bend, he sees three alligators this time, trying to figure out what's going on. Starts to go around the next bend, and then he sees the alligator laying against the shore, and the alligator is struggling. But he still doesn't see his Marines. So then he moves a little further and he starts to hear some commotion around the next bend. And as he gets around the next bend, he sees one of the Marines on the back of a large gator, strangling it. The other Marine is down at his feet, holding and pulling the feet. And he says, Tony, this one doesn't have boots on either. Let's go get another one. That's for my Marines. I appreciate it. I'm sorry, I don't use this mic, so we're good. We're going to press that. Okay, let's get going. Let's start with talking about the Montford Point Marines. And I really appreciate the President's comments because that's going to set the tone of what I want to talk about. Truth be told, I knew something about the Montford Point Marines, but again, I'm an Air Force guy. So I didn't know as much as I wanted to know. So this time coming out to speak, because I've been here before with you guys, I wanted to take a little time to actually kind of delve into this a little bit. So I want to start with, over the years, I've studied the courage and the heroic acts of those groundbreaking pioneers like the Buffalo Soldiers, the Tuskegee Airmen, and of course, our Montford Point Marines. Their stories are truly inspirational. I asked myself, what do I really know about these guys? So I came up with my 4 points, and that's what I'm going to set my story on today. I know that they were disciplined. The United States Marine are probably the most disciplined members of the armed forces that we've ever seen on this planet. There have been movies and stories told from generations to generations about these men and women. The courage, pride, and discipline. Point number 2. That they were extremely dedicated. We have to remember this time in our history, the Marine Corps was the final branch of service to be integrated. These Marines face unimaginable challenges and discrimination. And what many don't know is a lot of the Montford Point Marines were not drafted. They actually enlisted. At the time the draft was going on, these men decided that if I got to go, I'm going to pick where I'm going. And they picked the United States Marine because that's what they wanted to be. Point number 3. They were extremely determined. Determined to succeed, determined that no matter how they were treated, that they were going to serve with dignity, with honor, and with pride. And their goal was that they would be recognized for the color of their uniform and not the color of their skin. Yes, they were disciplined. They were dedicated, and they were determined never to give up. The fourth point. The Montford Marines had a dream to serve this country with honor, a dream where you saw the uniform and not the person, the dedication, the work that it took to put that uniform on. Sometimes our dreams allow us to go places that we desire, but when we open our eyes, we find ourselves in a reality, which is nothing like our dream. And it can be hard to dream when your eyes are open, because sometimes our eyes can't see what our dreams want. I want to tell you about a dream. In 1984, in this very city, a young man looking for direction went down to the United States Marine recruiter because he wanted to be a Marine. And he decided to join the military. He really didn't know a lot about the military. His father served, his grandfather served, his uncle served, and he even had a brother who served for a short period of time. Not knowing a lot about the branches of service, he knew one thing, that the Marines represented excellence. And that's what he wanted to be. So this young man talked to a recruiter for a long time, and he told him, all I want to do is join the Marines, do 4 years, and get out, and I want to be a police officer, because that's all I ever wanted to be. So they said you were too young when I went to the police academy. So they said, why don't you join the military? Get you a little time there, come back, and then we can get you into the academy. So that young man's goal was to join the Marines and do this. After speaking to the Marine recruiter that day, excited about the possibilities and the opportunities ahead of him, about to make the biggest choice of his life, he decided that he was going to go home, he was going to get prepared for this, and he was going to come back and tell them that he was about to join the Marines. On the way out the door, he passes the hallway and he passes the door. And inside that door, true story, he sees the gentleman sitting there with his feet put up on the desk. He said, wow. The man inside that room's name was Tech Sergeant Larry E. Tebow, who made eye contact with that young man. Tech Sergeant Tebow said, hey, how are you doing, son? And that young man said, I'm doing great. He explained that I was here to see the Marine recruiter, and I was about to join the Marines because he wanted to be a police officer. Tech Sergeant Tebow said, the Marines, that's great, but have you ever considered the Air Force? And that young man looked at Tech Sergeant Tebow and said, the Air Force, I can't fly planes. I've had a driving license 2 years, I've already been in 3 accidents, so you probably won't want me on an aircraft. Tech Sergeant Tebow laughed and said, no, you don't have to worry about flying planes. We have a police academy in the United States Air Force. So I remember he took out this old VHS tape and he stuck it inside there. He sat me on this old sofa right in front of the small TV and he said, watch this. And he played the United States Air Force Recruitment Police Academy video. And I watched that video with amazement. And I started asking Tech Sergeant Tebow all kinds of questions. I said, hey, what kind of uniform you guys got? And he said, this is it. I said, well, you look like you dress like I'm dressed. That ain't my uniform. I want the blood stripe. I want it all. I want that. He said, this is all we got. I said, okay. So I left that room and I went to think about what I wanted to do. A few days later, I came back to that same hallway with a choice. To the left, United States Marines. Cool. To the right, the United States Air Force Police Academy. That young man, trying to figure out what was going to be next, on that day, enlisted in the United States Air Force as a guaranteed enlistment program to the Police Academy. That training started in 1985. In June of 2014, that young man, almost 30 years later, retired from the United States Air Force as the Air Force Mobility Command Security Forces Functional Manager, responsible for 3,200 men and women spread across 11 installations across this globe. Today, that young man, still working for the government, is assigned to the United States Secret Service headquarters in Washington, D.C., and has been more places and seen more things than you can probably imagine over 4 decades of service to this country. Though I never got an opportunity to wear that blood stripe of the Montford Port Marines, I got an opportunity to live their dream. I got an opportunity to live the dream that they were fighting for back then. So to the Montford Port Marines, I thank you for your discipline. I thank you for your dedication. I thank you for your determination. But most of all, I thank you for letting me live your dream. A dream that opened doors for me, a dream that paved roads for me, a dream that painted a different landscape of opportunities for me. Because of your service and sacrifice, we all served a little better. This was all because of their discipline, their determination, their dedication, but because of their dream. These men had the courage to dream. So today, I get to dream with my eyes open. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an honor to be with you here today. We've gotten to laugh, we've gotten to pray, we got a good meal, and we got to share in part of a dream. So to the Montford Point Marines, rest, because today we live your dream. God bless each and every one of you, and may God always bless the United States of America. Thank you.